So you're gonna go first? Yeah, I'm gonna.
Oh.
That guy. Would you, are the mics hot? Okay,
Good evening.
just hold it down and you can talk to her. Yeah.
Good evening. We're getting ready to start our forum. I don't know. It's not,
There's not gonna be a loudspeaker. This is just for the Zoom. I'll explain how it's gonna work in this.
but I can probably do it better. Okay, good. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I would like to welcome you to the Lambert Center. And I'm so glad that so many people did show up. This is a forum where there's 5 civic leagues have gotten together for us to have this forum here today. And I'm very pleased with it. It was the Ghent Business Association, the Ghent Neighborhood League, the Lambert Point Civic League, Park Place Civic League, and West Ghent Civic League. At this, yeah. At this time, my chaplain is not here, so I'm going to stand in her place for her. So if you don't mind, will you lower your heads, please? Oh, Heavenly Father, we give you glory, praise, and honor. We just thank you. We thank you for this day, oh Heavenly Father, a day that we've never seen before. And once this day is over with, Heavenly Father, we will not repeat it again. Continue to bless each and every person that's represented here, each and every household, and then each and every civic league. Help us, Heavenly Father, to go into the right path that you would like to see the city of Norfolk going. We're going to give you the glory and give you the praise because it's all about you and none about us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Now, at this time, I would like to ask everyone, if you don't mind, will you silence your phone? And I thank you. And now I'm going to turn it over to my buddy here.
Hey, welcome everybody. I'm super, if you don't mind, join me here. So my name is Scott Sharrow. I'm with the West Ghent Civic League, and I'm super pleased that we were able to join forces as the civic leagues in the immediate area and host this candidate forum. A couple of little bit of housekeeping and a little bit of ground rules here. So first of all, tonight's format is a live and virtual format. So obviously we have everybody here in the room, and then we have the camera, and that's why we're using the microphones for those that chose to join us via Zoom this evening. This Zoom is being recorded, and it will be posted to the West Ghent Civic League's YouTube channel, which the easiest place to find our meeting recordings is by going to westghentcivicleague.org. And it's pretty self-explanatory from there. If you'd like to review the footage from tonight, it gives everybody in the community that was busy tonight a chance to see what these folks have to say. So what are the civic leagues here in Norfolk? It's one of the things that I'm most proud of living in Norfolk and being a citizen of Norfolk is the culture we have of civic leagues. Generally speaking, our mission is to promote fellowship, responsible stewardship, to unite, to exchange ideas for the improvement of our community, but we do so in a strictly nonpartisan format, right? And that's one of the things that I think all of our civic leagues are proud of is the fact that we are strictly nonpartisan. So in that vein, one of our mission statements for the West Ghent Civic League is to promote participation in the democratic process. And we feel that hosting a candidate forum is probably one of the premier ways that we are able to do that. And so I just want to thank everyone for being here. It's great to have folks from different neighborhoods in the immediate area getting together, and I'd like to do this more often. Yes, ma'am. Yes, we'll do it at West Ghent next time. Yes. So the mission for tonight is to provide everybody that's here and on Zoom. I think we have about 20 people joining us on Zoom. Tonight, this is for both of you. That we are here to provide a platform for the candidates to present their views to the community, to inform you on how you'd like to vote in the upcoming elections. We have the primary election coming up on June 20th. early voting is open right now. So I think it started on the 5th. Is that right? And then, of course, we have the general election on November 7th. I want to remind everyone that Virginia primaries are open primaries. So no matter which affiliation you've registered as a party member, you're eligible to vote in whatever primaries, and encourage everyone to vote and take part in the democratic process. The format for tonight is we're going to do, it's about 30-minute blocks. We're going to do 30 minutes now with the two delegate candidates. We'll take a 15-minute break in the middle, and then we'll do the Senate candidates for 30 minutes and finish about 8:15. We have to be out of here at 8:30 or the city is going to get mad at us.
Okay.
All right, we're going to start with 4-minute introductions each, and then we'll go to questions. If anybody has questions, there's index cards and there's ushers around the room. You can feel free to write your questions on the cards, and they'll get them up to me. The way we're going to do this is we've already kind of grouped, some of them fall into common type questions. So in the interest of time, we're going to group them together. I'm going to try to be as inclusive as possible in asking the question in a way that considers the format of what everyone asked. And then we're going to give 2 minutes each for the answers, and then we're going to alternate who gets to go first and second. And then we've also did a coin flip. And so Miss Anthony is going to do the first introduction, followed by Miss Sudderth. And then we'll do it in the same order. So she gets the last word at the end, right? So it's fair. First words, set the tone, and then final statements, right? We invited everybody that has qualified on the ballot to attend, and thankfully everyone that is on the ballot is here tonight. I'm grateful for that. So let's talk about a couple ground rules. We really just, in the vein of Civic League and civil discourse in the neighborhood, I ask that no one provide any personal attacks, any from the audience, amongst the candidates, between anybody. We're here to be adults and to have a fair, informative, respectful, and inclusive discussion. I'll just leave you with the last phrase here, which is a reasoned and respectful discourse is what we're looking to come out of tonight. Okay. All right. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you. See, my first time doing one of these. And so, yeah. All right. So let's just talk a little bit about the Virginia House of Delegates and District 92, right? This is part of the redistricting that happened a few years ago that just wrapped up last year. And so the new revised District 92 covers parts of Norfolk and Chesapeake, including Ghent, West Ghent, Lambert's Point, Park Place, the ODU area, like parts of Larchmont, the southern parts of Larchmont, downtown, Berkeley, and then into Chesapeake in the South Norfolk area. It's a very diverse district. It contains both some of our wealthiest residents and some of our poorest communities in the area. And so what is a delegate today, right? So there are 100 delegates to the General Assembly from around the state, and they're elected biennially every 2 years. And every time it's a fresh slate of re-election. So there's no carryover from session to session. Each one of them, if they are so elected, will represent roughly 86,000 citizens of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and they will get the healthy pay of $17,640. That is the prize at the other end of this annually. So with that, I would like to introduce Miss Bonita Anthony. She's a university administrator. She is the executive director of retention and persistence at Virginia State University. Previously, she's worked as the director of engineering student success at ODU. She was quite some time at ODU, I think 17 years. She was an engineering instructor at the Baton School College of Engineering and Technology. She taught for a brief stint at Booker T. Washington High School and the Faith Academy School of Excellence here in Norfolk. She's an electrical engineer by trade and has worked for the FAA and Newport News Shipbuilding. She has a Bachelor of Science in Electrical and Electronics Engineering from ODU, a Master's of Divinity in Theology from Virginia Union University, a Master's of Engineering in Modeling, Simulation, Visualization Engineering from ODU. Yeah. And she's a graduate of Booker T. Washington High School.
Yes.
So with that, I will just briefly introduce her main campaign pillars that she's spoken about: fighting against dismantling public education, universal free meals at our schools, common sense gun safety legislation, and giving the community a voice. And with that, over to you.
Hello, hello. How is everybody? So glad to be here. I am honored to be here before you. I am Bonita Anthony, and I am running to be your next delegate of the new 92nd House District. And as he went through, briefly over our resume and some of our accomplishments, I am a university administrator at Virginia State University. I started off as an engineer, bringing aviation infrastructure across, the Hampton Roads area, and then migrated and cut my salary in half and became an educator because I saw a need of our area. And it's the reason why I ran for school board in 2018, because I felt that I had the ability to bring about good change that was needed in our area. And so when I got an email today from our provost, he sent an email about a special graduate, and we have commencement coming up on this Saturday, as a matter of fact, and a special graduate, and he described her as a non-traditional 30-year-old Mexican immigrant who was the daughter of immigrants and a cancer survivor who worked full-time to earn her degree. And so I have the honor and privilege to work with many students and giving them access and giving them opportunity to make our lives better, more efficient. I've been an educator for well over 20 years. And so it is students like this one here, where I had the privilege to advise, to teach, and to journey along their way to make sure that we have enough brain power in our area to bring about new industry, to bring about economic vitality, and also use my position to be able to go outside of my work area and offer access and opportunity to our students at Norfolk Public Schools and across Hampton Roads. And so that is what I'm about, to giving people access and opportunity to make sure my community has a voice. And so, I'm also a minister, so giving folks that opportunity to be empowered and have a voice is a value that I hold dear. And so I'm running because I found that in our new administration that access and opportunity was being dismantled. Our public education was being defunded, and lots of things and changes were being happening. And so, I was upset about, the distortion, the deletion of our history. And then when it came down to the Supreme Court, with the Dobbs opinion and being overturned, the overturning of Roe, I really got anxious, and I wanted to make a difference. I could not stand in the corner and not do anything. I've been in this arena for quite a bit. I've pushed candidates who was going to impact the community. I've worked with my Civic League. I've worked with the community. I'm a part of the NAACP as well, making sure that everyone has a voice. Everyone has access and opportunity. And so here I am. That's why I filed to run for this open seat. That's why I filed to represent my district that raised me, that educated me. And so I hope that you make a very good decision in choosing me, someone who is ready to lead and someone who is ready to be a partner in progress to make sure that we bring about real solutions for our real issues that impact our everyday lives. I'm Bonita Grace Anthony, candidate for the new 92nd House District.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your introduction. I appreciate that. Okay, I'd like to now introduce, excuse me while I stop the timer. I'd like to introduce Kim Sudderth, a strategic planning consultant. She is currently the vice chair of the Norfolk Planning Commission. She's an executive level member of the Norfolk chapter of the NAACP. She's a senior manager at the Health Resources in Action nonprofit, which deals in public health nationally. She has not held neither of the candidates have previously held elected office. Her background for education wise is she has a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology from St. Leo University. She's certified, she's got a certificate in leadership, organizing, and in action program from Harvard Kennedy School. She's a graduate of the Green Run High School in Virginia Beach.
Oh, Stallion.
Yeah. She's also spent some time studying business management at Norfolk State University. She's previously worked at UVA, the organization known as Mothers Out Front, and was a business owner of a company called Extraordinary Events. Yes, ma'am. Amongst many other things. She worked at First Landing State Park for a little bit and was with USAA. Her platform major points are regarding environmental justice, addressing flooding, affordable housing, family health, women's right to choose, medical care, and increasing economic opportunity through college and trade education. So over to you.
Good evening. I'm very excited to be here. This is for Zoom, correct? I'm good. Awesome. That's our sound guy. My name is Kim Sudderth. I've got a lot of consonants in my last name, so I typically sound it out. It's like sudsy water and the planet Earth, Sudderth, but you can just call me Kim. The reason why I decided to run, I believe that Virginians want experienced, capable leadership, and I bring that. It's the people of the 92nd that I'm most interested in representing. And I know that with redistricting, everything's kind of gotten confused. I do have a map over at my table. If you have a moment later this evening, please stop by and it'll show you all the boundaries. As we said earlier, the 92nd is a very eclectic group of people, much like this room right here. We have our most affluent residents and we have some of our least affluent members. We also have some of our safest communities and some of our least safest. As a matter of fact, this past Sunday, I was in Young's Terrace, knocking on doors. And at least 4 times we were told, please be careful. They were genuinely concerned about our safety at their home. And that is not right. I'll probably speak more to that. I'm sure you have questions about it. We're also surrounded by water. If you look at the map, there's water that runs all throughout the 92nd. We're surrounded by it. We work in it. I know you just retired from the Navy, and that's great, but the water is slowly but surely wanting to come and take our land, and we've got to take action about that. I am vice chair of the Norfolk Planning Commission. The Norfolk Planning Commission, we think through zoning issues, where apartments and new homes will go. And what I believe I bring to the commission as the first Black woman to hold that position, I bring an idea around equity and inclusion and making sure that we invest in our community engagement. That's why I'm very excited to be with you this evening, because this is community engagement. And I'm so glad you took time out of your evening to come. As Mr. Sharon said, this job only pays $17,000 a year. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm certainly not doing this for the power. It would be one of 100. This is about you. And it always should have been about you. And so as your delegate, for the House delegate for District 92. What I bring to that is experience. I'm already doing the work. I will continue to do that work in Richmond for you. I will be accessible, and we will be partners in this. I'm going to go ahead and end now so we can have a little more time for questions, but I thank you this evening for coming out.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the Q&A. I have quite a stack of cards here. I know for a fact that we're not going to get through all of these in the allotted time period, so we're going to get straight to it. We're going to do 2-minute answers and 2-minute, so total of 4 minutes per question. Okay, so we'll go with the first question to you first. All right, so this one is a bit of a softball, and I would consider maybe a continuation of your introductory remarks. So what makes you uniquely qualified to represent the 92nd?
Oh, thank you. That's a great question. I'm uniquely qualified to represent the 92nd. As I said, I'm currently doing the work and I've been doing the work for some time. I started out my career as a community organizer with a group called Mothers Out Front, working with women and mothers and anyone who cares about our children's climate future. We were also dispelling the myth that, Black people don't care about climate. That's not true. We all care about climate. And what I also know is that the people who will be affected first and worst will either be Black, brown, underemployed, living in poverty, or isolated, or some combination of that. And that includes, that's when we talk about equity, when we're talking about inclusion, that's the work that I did for years. I bring that work to the Planning Commission. I mentioned that earlier. I also serve our communities as the Environmental Justice Chair for the Norfolk NAACP. Again, thinking about equity, thinking about making sure that those of us who don't have as much as others, that we're giving what we need. I'm a strategic planner. That's my day job. I have to remind myself sometimes I have one. In my day job, I'm a strategic planner. So I'm always thinking about what is the best step forward for all of us in the next 3 to 5 years. I work with nonprofits, public hospitals, public health systems. I'm currently doing the work. I think that that's the type of work that you want to see in the General Assembly with your best interests at heart. And I believe that's why I'm the best candidate in this race. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll pass it over. So over to you. What makes you the best, uniquely qualified?
I feel that I'm the best uniquely qualified for this particular seat because of the work that I've done in the past. I just didn't come here. I am born and raised here, and every choice that I've made was to impact my community. And not only born and raised, but educated here. And so when I had a job with the Federal Aviation Administration, I positioned myself to make sure that I brought aviation infrastructure to Norfolk. I made sure that I opened access and opportunity to young people in this area by becoming an educator and opening up aviation-based STEM education opportunities for them. I made a choice because I knew redistricting was coming to make sure that I was appointed to the Norfolk Census Complete Count Commission so that everyone could be counted, everybody's voice could be heard, working with ecumenical groups across Norfolk to make sure that members, partners, congregants was counted so that when these new maps were drawn and approved in December 21, that we had a representation that was good for our community. I made those choices to push forward candidates that were going to work for this community. I made sure that I was a part of the process that advocated and spoke before City Council and school board to advocate for all of our citizens. I made those choices. I'm an engineer, I'm an educator, I'm a minister, a community leader. And sometimes you have to take a multifaceted approach to legislation. You just can't look at the shiny object and focus in on one issue because all of our lives are complex. All of our issues are interrelated. And so you want some babies to decipher through that legislation and also be able to see the social impact and bring solutions back home.
All right, thank you. You can keep the mic because we're going to go back to you here in a second. Okay, so this is probably the topic of most interest that we received questions on, and Gloria, I share, it's a common interest, and the topic is the coal dust here, right? So something that unfortunately is a common topic between Lambert's Point and West Ghent. So we've received several questions, and I'll read a couple of them to get a sense of what folks are wanting to hear about. So if elected and you go to Richmond, will you try to stop the coal dust coming from the uncovered rotary coal dumpsters at Lambert's Point loading facility? And there's another question. mentioning that the incident in Ohio with Norfolk Southern put a lot of a fear into the local folks' concerns about the environmental impacts from an environmental justice standpoint on how we're going to regulate and protect our community from the coal dust.
Thank you for that question. And the overarching answer is yes. Environmental justice, how we treat our planet is, and it is very important to me. So, we're talking about mitigating climate change. We're also talking about air quality. And so one of the things that I've done is making sure that we also impact land use. And so I know that the Department of Environmental Quality has sensors out here. They're regulating that and also informing the local faith leaders to not be fooled by corporate folks who don't mean us well. And so when I get to Richmond, I'm going to take that decisive look and looking at how we regulate our transportation partners in Norfolk Southern and how in the world we're going to regulate air quality and making sure that we build up the community so that we can advocate together and to push forth legislation to bring about quality air, quality water, make sure that we're not impeded on land use, and making sure that we mitigate flooding and that we take care of the earth that we live on.
Thank you. I mentioned earlier that I, with another partner, we launched Mothers Out Front in Virginia. It was me and another young lady named Kim. It was two Kims, and from there we grew this movement in Virginia from 2 Kims to almost 4,000 people across the Commonwealth. One of the first things we worked on was coal dust. We met a woman named Tracy. Tracy explained to us that when she first moved to Lambert's Point, she had no idea that there was the coal plant, the coal yard out there. And one day she sent her son outside to play, and he had on a white t-shirt. And about 20 minutes later, when he came back in, it was gray. He didn't roll around in the dirt. He was just playing outside, covered in coal dust. Imagine what went into his lungs. This is something that I've been fighting probably since 2016 with groups like New Virginia Majority, groups like the Sierra Club and others, where we have been calling upon Norfolk Southern to cover their coal cars. We've not been successful in it, not on the ground as we are. And as I said earlier, that's the level of advocacy I want to take into the General Assembly, because that needs to stop. And in that position, as your state delegate, I can do that for them. Those monitors aren't regulating anything. They're monitoring the coal dust. They're just looking at it. What happens with that data, that's what's most important. As your state delegate, I will hold the DEQ accountable. I will make sure that they not only just measure it, but actually do something about it. And that's my 3 seconds. Thank you so much.
As we wrap up that topic, there was a lot of interest there. So what I'm going to do is I will verbatim share the written questions that we received and give you the opportunity to provide written answers to them all, so that everybody feels like they got their answers to their specific questions. If I don't ask it in a way that they feel was appropriate, then this gives you an opportunity to get back to us, and we'll get that out in West Ghent Civic League. We'll post the answers to that. All right, so moving on to another topic that seemed to be of interest this evening. This one is about student safety. So as a student who experienced lockdowns due to student gun possession, how will you as a delegate help to protect students from being victims of gun violence in a place that is supposed to be a safe space? Another question, very similar, is my brother was killed when he was 15 years old. What will you do to keep guns out of our children's hands?
Thank you. I'm not sure who asked that question, but my condolences for your brother. School safety. I'm thinking back, I'm an old lady. And I'm thinking back when I was in high school and we just weren't worried about things like that. And here we are. Here we are now, and our children believe they need to carry a gun to school for their own safety. I was speaking with a parent recently in Grandy Village, and she was saying that her daughter is considering dropping out and getting her GED just 2 months before graduation because she just doesn't feel safe. What I know, oh, that's okay. Started, I'm probably 20 seconds in. What I know is that we all love our children and we want the best for them, but sending them to school, sending them anywhere every day where you're praying that they make it home, that is absolutely wrong, and something needs to be done about it. We need to have common sense gun control laws. We need to make sure that these guns are placed in locks and safes so that the children do not have access to them. We also have to close our loopholes around guns. I was speaking with a friend not long ago, and he said that all he needed was $800 in 20 minutes, and he can have an AR-15, an assault rifle, a war machine. We need to close these loopholes. We need to protect our children by banning these assault rifles, these military grade war machines. And we also need to love on our kids. They are hurting, and they're hurting each other. And it sounds very simplistic, but what we need more mental health professionals in our schools to talk with our children. We need to make sure that the parents have meaningful work, well-paying jobs. We also have to make sure that they feel taken care of, because right now they're choosing to take care of themselves in the most horrifying ways. And as your state delegate, that is what I will do in the General Assembly, is close those loopholes, make sure that our children are safe. Thank you.
Right now, at the same time, there is a conversation on school safety being held at Lake Taylor High School. So it's a concern of all of the community. I remember when I taught at Booker T. Washington High School, even back in 2004, 2005, I remember something that I never experienced when I was in high school was lockdown drills where, everybody had to close their door and the drug dogs had to run through the hallway. And then I taught engineering, technical drawing, and architecture. So every now and then the SRO officers would have to come in my classroom and put all the guys up against the wall and pat them down. And I was shocked. A lot of times when students come to school, especially with good educators like myself, they come there for refuge, they come there for acceptance, they come there for impartial treatment, especially from their peers, and they come there to be safe. And so a lot of times right now, every time we look at the news, we don't feel safe, our kids don't feel safe, and everybody's like, how in the world we're going to curb gun violence? And so there have been many measures, and the data doesn't say that we've improved on any of it. But we know that we need common sense gun legislation. But then we're going to have to go dig even deeper and take a little broader view and looking at prevention, manufacturing, disbursement, distribution, and all of it. And so we're going to have to tackle that and work with our federal partners and making sure that we tackle the broader view and looking at the social determinants of health, looking at our economic stability, looking at what is impacting our kids on a daily basis and impacting our neighbors, to curb violence, period. But yes, we want to implement common sense gun legislations. We want to ban assault rifles. We want to do all the things, but want to make sure that we take a multifaceted approach to be able to chip away and be able to bring all these things all at the same time. And as your delegate, I have the ability to look at those things and be able to come to the community, inform you, give you a voice, and then to organize you to push forth solutions that's really going to bring about change, to be data informed, to be multifaceted, and to get to the heart of the matter.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so along that theme, adjacent to that, I have a question from the audience. This is, how will you prioritize public education in the General Assembly? And what do you feel are the top priorities in this area? Please be specific.
Definitely, of course, that is a top priority, making sure that we have stronger public education. We need solid investment in our public education, which means we need to go back to that funding formula so we do not have a $201 million mistake where, folks have, seen that they were going to get funding. And then also working with our local partners and making sure our local cities funding formula, make sure that it's distributed equitably so that every child has access to a quality education. We need more funding to staff and to retain our teachers. Being a public educator myself, I knew that we had to scrape and scramble to survive, and that we were using all of our own funds to make sure that all of our students had all the resources that they needed. And then we want to make sure that our public educators are supported, that they are able to collectively bargain for their needs with universal sick leave and making sure they have health care, etc. We also make sure that we, fill in those learning gaps where we're going to expand the Literacy Act to not just cover, pre-K through, middle school, but we also cover high school as well. And so public education is a priority. And what happens at K through 12 also impacts us at the higher education level. And so someone needs to be in there who has the wherewithal to know what happens at every level. We have 4 of the major public education institutions in this district, including Norfolk State University, TCC, Norfolk Campus, EVMS, and Old Dominion University. And so we need someone who is going to be properly advocate for public education. Thank you.
So how will you prioritize public education, and what do you feel are the top priorities in this area?
Certainly, I'll wait for you. Thank you. Well, first off, I think I'd mentioned earlier about how much community engagement means to me. I've knocked on a lot of doors, and as a matter of fact, I think I've knocked on about 1,300 doors. I also engaged with classroom educators, parents, and students, and asked them, what are you thinking and feeling? I mentioned the young lady that said she's just going to drop out because she doesn't feel safe. I spoke with a college professor that said that the children that are coming, well, the adults at this point who are coming to her, they're ill prepared for college. What I know is that our students, our parents, and our teachers need more support, especially around salary. My understanding is that teachers' assistants, they make about $15,000 a year. That's lower than the poverty line. We have to pay our teachers more. I also want to support higher education and providing free community college. Community college, those first 2 years, that's a great jumping off point. You can transfer to a larger university or graduate from the community college, but it's also just a way to boost economic equity in our state. And finally, I'd like to invest more in trade schools. I mentioned that my father was a welder. He learned welding when he was in high school, and he grew up in East St. Louis, Illinois. And if you don't know where that is, it used to be the murder capital of the country. Welding saved my father's life. I believe that, and I'm grateful for it. And just yesterday, I think, I was at a graduation for the Maritime Institute, and 17 brand new mariners are going to go out into the world with a new trade. And I'm very proud of that. And as your state delegate, I will make sure that all of those policies be implemented. Thank you.
All right. So switching topics here, how do you feel about the current regulations regarding how felons' voting rights have to be restored by application approval and not automatically reinstated once they complete their time?
Thank you for that question. As a matter of fact, we were talking about that this Sunday when we were in Young's Terrace. We were talking about treating ex-felons as returning citizens. They did their time, they paid their price, and now they have every right to participate in this civic procedure. We talked about this current administration and how all of the gains that we had in the last couple of years, especially with automatically restoring those rights, he's taking them away, and we must stop that. There are states in this union that once you've served your time, you automatically get your rights restored. You don't have to apply. And we certainly don't add those barriers to it. I think that in addition to having their rights restored, I believe that our returning citizens, they need more support around getting a job. We obviously want them to be gainfully employed, figuring out where they might live, where it's safe, making sure that it's affordable. There's lots of issues that surround them. And because they're in the position of people looking down on them, well, you're a felon, you're an ex-con. Well, they're a returning citizen and we should treat them as such. I met a young man recently that because of his past criminal history, he had a hard time finding a place to live. And so he ended up going with a private landlord. The private landlord knows his situation and is now taking advantage of him and kicking him out of his apartment. He has a 12-month lease and he's cut off the water, he's cut off the electricity, and now he's staying in a hotel. And the landlord is doing it because he believes he can get away with it. And as your state delegate, I will make it my business to protect our returning citizens. Thank you.
Thank you for that particular question. Making sure that people have a voice is a high value that I have. For years, I worked within our political action group in my church and partnered with other ministries to make sure that people knew about civic engagement and the voting process, and directing folks who were returning citizens how to restore their rights, and working with organizations on the ground who restore the rights of everyone. And so we've kind of have a new administration that have been rolling back the progress that we've made over the years. And particularly with the Department of Justice, everything, that was automatic is now, the decision of one person. And so we want to restore those rights, because people who have done their time should have the right to have their voice heard and to vote in leaders who is going to make, progress in our community. And so as your delegate, I'm going to work very hard to make sure that there's more transparency within the Department of Justice, and making sure that, we work with other folks to return those rights and protections that we've given all of our citizens, especially those who are returning to us. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, we have about 5 minutes left. So I was going to do closing statements. We're going to do 3 minutes each. And I believe since you went, we're going to go in this. Okay, so then you get to go first on the closing statement. Yes, that's what we agreed to in advance. Yes. So it's an opportunity to cover any topics that you feel that you'd like to discuss, or just anything for that matter that you'd like to finish out with.
Great. If everybody remembers the song Old MacDonald, right? And so the great that, especially young children knows how to learn is sing a song, right? So Old MacDonald had a farm. So here we're going to take EIEIO. And so E, I was an engineer bringing aviation infrastructure to this area, done the work, been doing the work for many years. I've brought innovation to this area to make sure that we, have economic stability and that we can prosper in this area. I've worked as an educator. I cut my salary in half because I saw the need that I could bring to make sure that we have an emergent future to bring our children forward. And so doing that, working from pre-K all the way through higher education, I've worked with industry partners to make sure that, we don't experience a brain drain, that we have economic opportunity in this area, and that we bring real solutions to this region. EIE. And so, working in industry, I also brought opportunity and access to our public school children from, making sure that they had access to Hidden Figures. I brought FIRST Robotics to the South Side when they were very prevalent on the peninsula. Right now, this Saturday, I'm partnered with Commonwealth Aviation and Aviation Institute of Maintenance, as well as Delegate Jackie Glass, where we're bringing an event called Norfolk Can Fly. I'm a student pilot, so when I brought, changed over the new air traffic control towers, I say, hey, let me fly the plane as well so that I can influence more folks who look like me, who are not prevalent in the industry, to be active in those areas so that we can experience economic vitality. I am Bonita Anthony, and I'm running to be your next delegate. I bring a multifaceted approach. I have contributed many ways to my community, and I'm going to bring that to Richmond to be able to make well-considered decisions to make sure that all of our community, not just the west side, not just the east side, not just the south side, not just Chesapeake, but all of us in the 92nd district, we are one district, and we have many things that are interrelated, and we're going to bring all of those to the table to make sure that we bring good solutions, real solutions for real problems, to make sure that we solve them for our community. I'm Bonita Grace Anthony. Hopefully that you will check the name off on the box in the ballot box. Thank you.
Thank you. As I said before, I'm not doing this for the money or the power. I want to continue my service to the community in Richmond. I believe that Virginians want plain-spoken, experienced, and strong leadership in Richmond. And it's the people of the 92nd that I will prioritize in all of our priorities. Currently, I serve the people of Norfolk as vice chair of the Norfolk Planning Commission, thinking through inclusionary housing policies, making sure that everyone has an opportunity to have safe and affordable housing. I also chair the Environmental Justice Committee for the Norfolk NAACP, thinking through issues like coal dust, pipelines, and even happy things like renewable energy, which lead to energy democracy. I've taken on industrial tyrants and a few out-of-touch politicians, and I've worked tirelessly with communities like yours, including yours, and I've won. I can tell you that there's a lot that needs to happen in Virginia and beyond, but within the 92nd, I make myself available to you, to listen to you, because I should be in your audience. I should listen to what you care about, what's concerning you, and what's making you happy too. What do we need more of? That's the type of leader I am now. The work that I'm doing now is proven. It's out there for all to see. You may go to my website, which is kimfor92.com. You can also check out my socials. You can @ me at kimfor92. And if you're dissatisfied for all the nice things that I say about myself, feel free to Google me. Check me out for yourself. But I say all that to say, you are more powerful than you realize. You don't have to just take our word for it, and you don't have to sit back and take what this current administration is doing. I have been fighting for you a long time, and I will continue to do so in Richmond. My name is Kim Sudderth. You can just call me Kim. And I want to be your next House delegate for District 92. Thank you.
I just want to thank everyone. Thank you both in particular for taking the time to be here to speak to the neighbors of the Park Place, Lambert's Point, Ghent, and West Ghent. And really, time is up. That must mean we're done, right? So the agenda now is we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we're a 5-minute break, 5-minute break, and we're going to shift to the Senate candidates. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, everybody, welcome back. If I could ask you to get your seats, please. They're both hot, yeah. Hey there.
It's point. That we have to reach out to their delegates for the state.
All right, we're ready to. You can join me up front. Yeah.
The speaker that you think.
Yeah, we're trying. Oh, you can see that. I'm gonna sit. All right, welcome back. Back it out your attention, everybody. That's big. Okay, so we're back for round two here. We're very glad to have both of our candidates for the Senate District, 21st District, for the new redistricted Commonwealth of Virginia. So to talk about what the Virginia Senate District covers is, I would say, the majority of Norfolk, from all the way from Willoughby Spit through downtown and the Berkeley area and Military Circle, to orient you to what the role of a state senator is. We have a total of 40 senators representing the various districts across the Commonwealth, and our state senators are elected quadrennially, which is every 4 years. So if elected, our senators will our senator for our district will represent roughly 215,000 citizens of Virginia. And they'll do this all for the whopping pay of $18,000 a year, which is, I think, roughly $360 more than our state delegates. So can't thank you enough for that. So I'm going to first introduce Councilwoman Andria McClellan, who is our Norfolk City Council for Super Ward 6. She serves currently in many, many roles, and I will walk through them. She serves on the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission, where she chairs 2 committees. She serves on the board of the ERT Foundation. She is a founding board member of the Democratic Business Alliance of Southampton Roads. She is on the Hampton Roads Transit and Transportation District Commission, where she chairs and vice chairs a couple of different committees. She's a board member on both 757 Accelerate and the 757 Angels. She studied and is currently a board member for the Sorensen Institute for Political Leadership at UVA, as well as a board member at the UVA Center for Politics. Her background education-wise is a Bachelor of Arts in Asian Studies and Economics from UVA. And she studied management at Wharton School at University of Pennsylvania. Her major campaign platform areas are flooding, regional greenhouse gas initiative, economic opportunity, affordable housing, and supporting small businesses and workforce training. So with that, I will give you the floor for an introduction.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here with you all tonight. This is weird because it doesn't actually project. So can everybody hear me okay? I'll stand up here. So thanks for the opportunity to be here. I appreciate all the organizations coming together so I could give you a little bit more about my background, answer your questions. And I know several of you here, but I'd love to give you a little more background that you might not know about me. Quite honestly, I probably shouldn't be here. I was raised by a single mom in Virginia Beach who never went to college, except for 2 classes at TCC. Mom became a draftsman after my dad left, and she worked at Hecht's department store in the evenings, and I was a latchkey kid of the 1980s, and the odds were against me. But for me, public education was my opportunity for a path to success, and that's why it's so important to me. I am a graduate of Green Run High School in Virginia Beach, as is my friend Ken Sudderth, who you met earlier tonight. And because of that education, I was able to go on to the University of Virginia, which I worked through for 4 years of work study and Pell Grants, and then graduated, went on to go work for 2 Fortune 500 companies and ran 2 small businesses of my own. Nobody expected that when I started back at College Park Elementary School in Brandon and Green Run. But I'm so grateful to have had that opportunity. And I want to give that opportunity to everybody in the city of Norfolk, to create economic opportunity and to create generational wealth, to start small businesses of their own. I chair the Small Business Advisory Board for the Commonwealth, under Governor Warner. I was appointed to that in 2004. Very fortunate to that for that opportunity. And I've since gone on to receive 2 other gubernatorial appointments. I've served on the Family and Children's Trust Fund for Virginia, and I currently serve on the Chesapeake Bay Program Local Government Advisory Committee. As was mentioned, flooding is a big issue for me, but quite honestly, more broadly, the issue of environmental justice and climate change mitigation. And I see several folks in here who share that passion with me, and I appreciate that very much so. So my husband and I, we celebrate 30 years of marriage on Monday. Very proud of that. Also going against the grain, having come from a family where that didn't happen. We chose Norfolk. We moved to Norfolk 22 years ago to raise our family. And I'm so proud of the fact that we have. We've raised all 3 of our boys in Norfolk Public Schools, and they're doing wonderfully. So whatever people say about Norfolk Public Schools, I can tell you my personal experience is a very positive one. And I look forward to supporting our schools in the state Senate. During my time here, I used my background in business to raise funding and awareness for important causes, including homeless family, victims of domestic violence, and people with mental health issues and concerns. I served on the Up Center Board, the Samaritan House Board, Access College Foundation, and in 2016, I decided to go against a 16-year incumbent and run for the Norfolk City Council. And I was told at the time to wait my turn, that there's no way I'd win, and that's not how it's done in Norfolk, Andrea, but I beat him in 19 of 23 precincts. Again, beating the odds. And I love what I do on the City of Norfolk City Council, but I want to take that to the next level, to the state, to the state Senate, to the General Assembly, and to represent the City of Norfolk, to take my experience writing the climate action plan for the City of Norfolk, being on the Social Equity and Economic Opportunity Commission here, serving on as chair of Hampton Roads Transit, as chair of the Southside Network Authority, and bringing more internet competition to the area as well. Creating Engage Norfolk, an opportunity. Our 6th annual event happened this past year, where we are focused on public engagement, and we need to be doing that more at the city level as well as the state level. So I could go on. I know that we have lots of questions tonight, so I want to just wrap up and just say thank you. I'm grateful for being here. I'm grateful for the opportunities I've had in my life, and I hope to extend those opportunities to everybody in the City of Norfolk, and can do so in the state Senate. Thank you.
Okay, if you allow me just to introduce Miss Angela Williams-Graves. She is a real estate broker by trade. She currently serves us as a delegate in Richmond for the current District 90, and she's been doing so since January of 2021. She also is the principal broker and owner at Homes by Angela Realty Company, and previously served as a Norfolk City Councilwoman for Super Ward 7. She did so for about 10 years. Her educational background, she has a Bachelor's of Science in Marketing and Public Administration from the ODU Strome College. She studied real estate at the Alpha College of Real Estate. She was also a student at the Sorensen Institute for Political Leadership at UVA. And she started her career working, I think, for the City of Norfolk as for the Commissioner of the Revenue and the Sheriff in accounting. Her campaign platform major topics are protecting women's right to choose and crime and safety with an aim towards creating common sense gun laws. So with that, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you. Is it on? It's on. Okay. So my mom was a school teacher. So if this doesn't work, I've got a big mouth. I am Delegate Angela Williams-Graves, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here, to be with all of you. And thank you to the Civic Leagues who have put this on. I know it's a big undertaking. I am your delegate. I represent the 90th House District. I was born and raised here in the city of Norfolk. I was educated. Anybody familiar with St. Mary's Catholic Church? Well, I was educated at St. Mary's Catholic School before it closed down. And then I went on to Booker T. Washington High School. I wanted to be like my big brother and my sister and go to the big school. And so I wanted to go, I graduated from Booker T. Washington High School, and then I went to work, right? And I realized that in order for me to probably do more with my career, I needed to go back to school. And so as an adult, I went to Tidewater Community College, graduated from there, transferred over to Old Dominion University, and then graduated from Old Dominion. In the meantime of all of that, I ran for city council. right? I ran for city council. I worked for the city of Norfolk, actually in the Commissioner of Revenue's office. I worked there for probably about 8 years, and then I worked over at the Norfolk Sheriff's Office. And I gained a lot of knowledge about how the city government works. And one of the things that I will tell you is that my background before going to work for the city of Norfolk was in retail, and it was in sales. And you can make more widgets and make more stuff and make more widgets and make more money. And I'm not opposed to anybody making money. But when I went to work for the city of Norfolk, it was like there was a meaning behind the work. It was more than just making more widgets and making more money. What we did in the Commissioner of Revenue's office and the Treasurer's office and in social and human services and all of those areas in the city, it actually affected real people. And that is what was most impactful for me. And I say to people all the time, that's where I got the bug. I got bit by the bug as a temp working in the Commissioner of Revenue's office, who came back as a permanent employee and stayed until I got elected to city council. When I went on to city council again, I believe I got elected because people believed in me. People believed in me in 2010. They believed in me in 2012. They believed in me in 2016. And they believed in me again in 2020. And in 2021, my delegate and my neighbor got appointed to a judgeship. And that left the seat open in the Virginia General Assembly. And I thought to myself, I could take everything that I've learned working for the city and being a city council member and go to the General Assembly and make a real difference. And I believe that I have done that. Redistricting has given us a gift in Norfolk in a Senate seat, in an all Norfolk Senate seat. We currently, as a city, have 3 senators who represent Norfolk. I like them all. One is a senator who represents Norfolk and Chesapeake. He is known as the senator from Chesapeake. One is a senator who represents the Eastern Shore and Norfolk. He's known as a senator from the Eastern Shore. There's another one who represents Virginia Beach, and he's got about 3 precincts in Norfolk, and he's known as a senator from Virginia Beach. Guess what there isn't? There's no one known as a senator from Norfolk. And so I'm asking you on June the 20th or anytime between now and then for your vote to be the senator from Norfolk. My platform, as I see it, is critical to the everyday needs of our city to ensure that everyone has the quality of life that they deserve. I look forward to the conversation and you all getting to know me better. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go to the question and answer. So I'll ask you to go first, Angela. So in light of your many legislative accomplishments, both on city council and in your case in the House of Delegates, what can you point to from your past that will predict your future service in the state Senate?
That's a great question. I would like to think of myself as a common sense legislator. So in my first year in the House of Delegates, we had an issue in city council where 2 children, well, in the city of Norfolk, where 2 children died because they were in unregulated home daycare centers. And so they died in unregulated centers. I mean, it was heartbreaking. And so what I did was I took the problem that we had, which was a legislative requirement that would allow localities to regulate those in-home daycare centers. I took that with me to Richmond and I passed legislation that would allow those in-home daycares to be regulated and licensed by the city. I'm a common sense legislator. I looked at jury duty pay. All right, jury duty pay. Anybody ever served jury duty? All right, it's $30 whole a day, right? 30 for your whole day is $30. And so last year I put forth the bill that was that brought jury duty pay to $50. That died in appropriations, but I will not be beat. I brought it back again this year and I played a little bit of what do you call it? Mental aerobics. I asked for 100. And guess what we ended up settling on? 50, exactly. So those are the kinds of common sense things that I believe can say that you can say from my past, this is the person that I will be in the future. The last thing I'll point out to you is a bill that I passed this year with the help of colleagues in terms of making sure that surviving spouses do not have to be stuck with the debt of their deceased spouses for medical and healthcare bills. That is a big deal. If you pass away and you go to the hospital, you pass away, I'm not saying they killed you, but you didn't come out, your spouse should not be left with that bill, right? And so those are the kinds of things that move me and that can speak to who I will be based on who I have been.
All right. So in light of your accomplishments, what will point to that will predict your future service in the state Senate?
Yeah, thank you. So as mentioned earlier, one of my main issues has been the issue of flooding. So I served on the Planning Commission before coming on to City Council. I now serve on the Joint Subcommittee for flooding at the state level. I've been focused on this issue for many years because it is the existential threat that is facing the city of Norfolk. Among other things that I've accomplished during that time has been reducing flood insurance costs for all flood insurance policy holders in the city of Norfolk by 25% because we participate in the community rating system. When I started on council, that was a 5% discount. We're at 25%. We're trying to move to 45%. I also worked with the local realtors and the statewide realtors to advocate for a policy that requires disclosure of flood claims at real estate transactions because prior to January 1st of this past year, that did not exist. What's really important though now is we have this huge opportunity with the federal government, with our coastal storm risk management plan, a $2.6 billion program that the federal government is committed to 65% funding. That leaves 35% funding in the non-federal category. That needs to be split between the local and the state government. We asked last General Assembly for $400 million from the state government. They gave us $24 million. You need a strong advocate at the state level who's going to fight for that for the city of Norfolk, and I will be that person. Additionally, I advocated for and helped to get $38 million of dedicated regional funding for Hampton Roads Transit. I previously served as the chair of Hampton Roads Transit. I still serve on that commission. That's really important for the city of Norfolk and for our region because we need that transit to be reliable and more frequent. And now we have 13 regional routes that will have 15-minute service, a huge bonus for our region. Additionally, I serve as the chair for the Southside Network Authority, where we have put together a 5-city regional 120-mile highway of broadband. We got 5 cities to each put $5 million in together for this $25 million project. So folks who say that we don't work together regionally, I would argue the case that we do, and this is a great opportunity. What is that going to do for our city and for our region? It's going to create more internet competition. We finally have our second internet provider in the city of Norfolk. I'm very proud of having helped with that as well. I've raised $4 million for the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation. I will continue to support our parks and our trails and advocate for Vision Zero and pedestrian and bicycle safety. And lastly, I'll finish with this. Last year, I was named by the Chamber as the Regional Statesperson of the Year. I work well with others, and I will work well with others in the State General Assembly. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll shift topics a little bit to another one that seems to be popular in the room here. So scientists tell us we have a few years left to start dramatically bringing down our greenhouse gas emissions in order to have a livable future. Yet fossil fuel companies keep seeking to build new or expand existing gas pipelines, increasing immediate pollution in mostly Black and brown communities. What will you do to stop new dangerous pipelines? That's to you. Yes.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the question, and I will say that I'm very proud to have written the climate action plan for the city of Norfolk. It's still, unfortunately, the only climate action plan for the region. I feel very strongly about ensuring that we have safe, renewable energy, and that's why I've been such a big proponent of offshore wind. That is not only going to create great renewable energy sources, but also thousands of new jobs for the citizens in Hampton Roads. And quite honestly, I think the best thing that we can do is ensure that we have more renewable energy sources so that we don't have a need for these pipelines. I disagree with adding more pipelines. I disagree with the idea that we need that supply because I feel strongly that we have the renewable energy sources that can get us there. But we have to also think about the technology as it relates to energy storage. So once we have these renewable energy sources, how are we actually going to store them? So I'd like to see the Commonwealth put more money into that research and technology associated with that as well. So to answer the question specifically about pipelines, I don't agree with the pipelines and I don't support them and I haven't supported them. But what I think we need to do is not just not support them, but we need to find other sources of renewable energy. So community solar, expanding community solar. There was a bill this past year in the General Assembly that Senator Serval tried to get passed that would reduce the rate required for accessing community solar, because currently it's too expensive to access community solar. So for those who might not know what community solar is, perhaps you live in an area where you don't have access to putting solar on your roof. You live in an apartment building. You might live in historic Ghent where we can't put solar panels on our roofs. But community solar will allow you to access a local community solar source and use that as your energy source. The problem is right now, Dominion requires a minimum payment each month. So it makes your bill more expensive as opposed to less expensive. So quite honestly, we've got to address this with Dominion. I'm very proud that I've not taken any money from Dominion Energy. I won't be taking any money from Dominion Energy because I really think very strongly that we need to be focused on the people. And my campaign has been focused on the people, and that's where my money has come from. Thank you.
So over to you, Angela. The premise of the question is what will we do to what's your position on pipelines and what's your stance on renewable energy?
Thank you so much. So I don't remember the year it is because there's like pre-COVID and post-COVID, right? And COVID's like that we suffered through dog years, but it was pre-COVID. And we were on city council and the General Assembly had approved a pipeline and it was scheduled to come through Berkeley and Park Avenue and some other areas. And they had approved this pipeline and it was, I remember just feeling very helpless as a council member because there wasn't anything we could do about it. It was already approved in the General Assembly and our hands were virtually tied. And I listened to all the folks who talked to us and I remember getting all the information. And so to answer the question, I am opposed to pipelines. I don't feel like adding more gas pipelines in communities that are already struggling is the answer, nor do I feel like it's the answer for the earth. The earth is like God's gift, right? And I don't feel like that's the answer for the earth. I do believe in renewable energy sources. I believe in bringing everybody to the table, including Dominion, and making sure that what we have are the best policies, that we have the best equipment, that we have the best resources, and that we have the best options when it comes to all of our renewable sources. I don't know that we get a do-over when it comes to renewables because of all of the infrastructure that is required for this new energy source. So I believe in bringing everybody to the table, making sure that we get the best bang for our dollar, and making sure that when we do finally have a product, that it is the best, not only for the citizens of Norfolk, but also for the Commonwealth of Virginia. Thank you.
Okay, so this has been a popular topic here in Norfolk for some time now. So we have many people in Norfolk becoming displaced by gentrification. For instance, the St. Paul's Quadrant, Park Place, Lambert's Point, for example. How will you fight for affordable housing for these folks?
So thank you. Very good question. I had the privilege of serving as the first co-chair of the St. Paul's Quadrant. Serving on the St. Paul's Advisory Committee for the St. Paul's Quadrant with Councilman Paul Riddick, who is since retired. And one of the things that we did with regard to the residents of St. Paul's and specifically Tidewater Gardens was we made sure that we put the people first. We made sure that everyone who wanted to come back would be able to come back, number one. But number two, we also made sure that the people who were leaving, we didn't just hand them a voucher and say, here, go figure it out on your own. I am so proud of that project because we have increased numbers of folks who have gotten jobs. We've gotten almost 94 or 5, and forgive me for not knowing the exact percentage number of folks who did not have health care in Tidewater Gardens. They now have health care. We've got a high number of young people who have graduated from high school. So one of the things that's important to me as it relates to making sure that we are not gentrifying is giving people the options to come back when we do these redevelopment projects like in St. Paul's, but also making sure that we help folks. We help them get from point A to point B. And if they want to come back to point A, we have a place for them. Thank you.
Thank you. So listen, all of us live in Ghent, West Ghent, Park Place, Lambert's Point. We have a lot of stock of old houses. And I disagree with the idea that if we're going to just build affordable housing, we have to do it with new apartment buildings. Why don't we focus on renovating those houses that we currently have, that most of them are energy inefficient? And the energy burden is very, very high. You're spending too much money because your windows are leaking energy and it's too expensive. So I'd like to make sure that we invest in the homes that we have, keep people in their houses, make it more affordable for people to stay there, and make sure in doing so, creating a workforce to help us with this. I'd like to think about this at a state level. How do we create an AmeriCorps type of program that creates opportunities for people to learn the trades, to create those renovation workers, to keep people in their homes? So we get a twofer. We're providing people with workforce training and jobs, and we're keeping people in their homes and creating more affordable housing stock in our communities. For me, that is a win-win situation. And I really think there's an opportunity there. The other thing that I want to focus on is how do we access the funds coming from RGGI? So RGGI is the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. It's a carbon trade program that Virginia is in, one of 11 states. We've gotten over $500 million from that program thus far. Half of it goes to flooding, the other half goes to energy efficiency and low to moderate income homes. The governor decided on his day one that he was going to get out of RGGI. I highly disagree with that. We will stay in RGGI, and we will make sure that RGGI funds come to the city of Norfolk and to our region to ensure that we create those energy efficient opportunities. I am on the Regional Affordable Housing Work Group for the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission. We're talking about all these things currently. I look forward to talking about this at the state level.
Okay, well, unfortunately, I would love to ask every single question in the deck. What we described earlier was that I'm going to get all these questions that we received from the audience typed up in their entirety, and then via the same method we were communicating beforehand, we'll get those to you, give you the opportunity to answer them more fully, and then each of the civic leagues can put that information out in their channels. So with that, I want to give you each the opportunity to provide some closing remarks. And the ground rules, as we discussed earlier, are 3 minutes to share your parting thoughts or any topics that we haven't discussed. And so over to you.
Thank you. I certainly would love to have had the opportunity to answer a lot more questions. I have a lot of thoughts and ideas and hope to have the opportunity to talk with you more in the future. But here's what I'll say. Norfolk has a lot of issues, a lot of problems, and a lot of opportunities. I am the leader who can go tackle those. I can hit the ground running on day one in the Senate. I started my career at the state level in 2004 when I was appointed to the Small Business Advisory Board for the state. I've served as vice chair of the state Democratic Party. I have served in numerous various organizations, as have already been mentioned. I have contacts throughout not only the region, but the state, and I can move the needle for the city of Norfolk. I run small businesses. I've managed people. I've managed budgets. I do my homework. I listen to the people, and I show up. And I will be here for you. I will be here for you, not only in the General Assembly, but all those months that are off session as well. That is my hallmark. That is what I have done in the City Council. And that's what I look forward to doing for you as your next state senator in the 21st District. I'm Andria McClellan, and I hope that I've earned your vote tonight. Thank you.
So again, thank you all for being here. I know the hour is getting late. What I will tell you is that of the two candidates, I am the only candidate that has legislative experience. This election is super important, and it is very important to the history of the city of Norfolk. We have 11 senators who are leaving the Senate. We have 31, if I'm not mistaken, House members who are leaving. That leaves us with a deficit of knowledge, and it leaves us with a deficit of experience. I am the only candidate that has the experience at the legislative level. I am the only candidate that has worked with each one of the remaining senators, provided they all win their primaries, who will be left in the Virginia Senate. And I am really the only candidate who can actually start working on legislation on June 21st. The reason for that is because I'm your current delegate. I'm already in the system. We can start on June 21st, crafting legislation, putting it through our legislative services, working it out, fleshing it out, and gaining support so that on the start of the 2024 session, we will be ready to go. With my vote, we decriminalize marijuana. With my vote, we repealed the death penalty. With my vote, we increased jury duty pay. With my vote, we gave folks, our teachers, a much needed raise, and our law enforcement officers. I am the one who has voted. I am the candidate who has the record in the General Assembly. And I am asking you this evening to allow me to take my history of working for the city, being elected to the city, being elected to the House of Delegates, and allowing me to take that into the Virginia Senate and be the senator from Norfolk. I am Delegate Angela Williams Graves. Between now and June 20th, I hope to have your vote to be your next senator. Thank you.
All right. Well, with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Gloria. Thanks for everyone for coming. You got nothing left? Do you need any help with cleaning things up around here?
Everybody.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
And thank you. And thank you
We
so much for everyone showing up and coming. I think this was a great one. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And there's voter registration and delegate and Senate information, contact information in the back of the room.
And everyone, please remember, vote. If you're born.